Good afternoon, everybody. Today is April 24th, 2024, and 31 years ago, I got married. So happy anniversary, Patrick. It's been a wonderful 31 years, and I hope and pray we have another 31 years. So I'm looking at a beautiful bouquet of flowers in front of me. And so anyway, so today is a special day. So I wanted to say that before I get jumped into this topic. It's a really interesting topic, right? Is lose weight by making smarter choices. Like, yeah, of course I want to make smarter choices, but we are humans and we are fallible, right? So we are easily nudged to making different choices. So I want to incorporate behavioral economics or nudges in your own life, right? How can you nudge yourself to make better choices? There's a great book. It's called Nudge. And the most amazing thing about this is listening to it. I'm trying to think of ideas to help you incorporate this into your own life. I've read the book years ago. They revamped it about 3 years ago, and I hadn't listened to the new version, but the new version is really good too. So anyway, I want to mention and I want to know if you agree. Oops, sorry about that. One thing is for sure, people make better choices when they have lots of experience, right? Good information and prompt feedback. So for example, I have really good success with people losing weight when, one, they have more information and more education, right? So they start practicing lifestyle changes. Maybe they've been working on a healthy diet for some time, right? They had some experience working on improving their health. Number one. Number two, lots of good information. I'm a big fan of education. So not only do you need to assess where you are, but you need to educate yourself on what's the best option for you based on your values, your experience, and abilities. And three is prompt feedback. And that is why I like utilizing a continuous glucose monitor with patients who have a weight that they'd like to lose, whether they've been diagnosed with insulin resistance, prediabetes, or type 2 diabetes. It is a really amazing feedback tool because you get this prompt feedback and you make decisions based on real time. So, for example, let's say that in the book, for example, they talk about there's a chess game, right? There's a master chess player and there's a novice chess player. I would fall into the novice category. It is probably predicted that the master chess player will win, right? Because the novice has less experience, doesn't have as much good information based on past experience, and I mean, you will see some prompt responses when he makes a decision. So I guess that piece is there, but it's hard to think about where you can incorporate this in your life is based on, let's say you have a doctor's visit, right? Your doctor can kind of dictate what choices you'll make based on what information they give you. You're going to your doctor about a problem. You have less experience in this doctor you're going to trust because they have more experience. And the advice they give you will come from their own experience, their own education, and how thoughtful they are on allowing you the autonomy and to make your own choices. So, number one, if I withhold some type of treatment option for my patients, let's say they have high cholesterol, like I just did a show with Chef AJ today, and we were talking about cholesterol management. So if I withhold very helpful information such as lifestyle interventions, if I say nothing about diet or exercise or lifestyle interventions that can have dramatic impacts on your cholesterol, I am doing you no service by just offering you medications. If you went to a cancer doctor and you have cancer and they don't give you other options besides intervention, but they don't discuss with you other potential things such as what are some lifestyle interventions that you may improve your ability to survive cancer, or what are some of the things that if you choose to engage with, let's say, traditional treatment, that will help you tolerate it more. There's lifestyle interventions there that can be very helpful. But what if this cancer doctor just says, this is the most recent and best medication. and they don't offer you other options or other medications, right? So again, we have choices every single day. There's always going to be some bias, but if we can decrease that bias, it'll be really helpful. Got off topic there. I'm still trying to figure out how to verbalize a bigger part of this. I'm still listening and learning, but I wanted to speak to you about making smarter choices for weight loss. So let's jump on that. Number one, I'm going to just kind of walk you through 4 steps that might be very helpful for you. Number one is decoding cravings, right? So what that means is basically you want to understand your triggers and urges to eat when you're not hungry. A lot of this will incorporate mindfulness. And in my new course that's about to go live, Master Your Metabolism and Lose Weight, this is really, really important, is becoming mindful of the process and understanding your own habits. So you really want to understand the triggers or prompts of that behavior. So, for example, notice when stress leads you to the fridge, that's an emotional eating trigger, right? So you're not actually hungry. Maybe you just had breakfast or lunch, and you are finding yourself in front of food options, or maybe in the cabinet, there's cookies and chips and different things in there because you're bored or because you're stressed about an email that you got. These are emotional eating. So understanding your cravings is really important. So what can you do about that? Well, first of all, it's becoming mindful, right? It's being present. You're not just responding to something that you feel like is a craving, the body is saying, hey, I want this, or the mind is telling you want this to decrease its stress, right? The brain is just trying to make itself feel better. So what can you do? Well, it's really called, you could basically spot it and you jot it. I think it's really important to write things down. So maybe keep a cravings journal. You can also call this habit mapping or habit charting, where you identify the triggers when you're tempted to snack. You want to see the behavior. And then I really think it's important. The reward is really important. You identify the reward you're getting. You're getting stress reduction. One, you're eating this food that's tasty. But the important thing here is the deciding point, right? When you have the craving, you notice yourself in the middle of the behavior. You give yourself time and space, right? And say, what's going on here? What was the trigger? How am I feeling? How am I going to feel afterwards if I choose to eat this? But you're allowing yourself the choice. Okay, maybe I don't want this, and maybe I do want this. But at least you're giving yourself choice. When you feel like you're putting hard, rigid rules, like, no, I can't do this, and you fight the craving, the more you fight it, the stronger it gets. Your rebellious teenager self is going to oh, I really want it. And the voice will get so loud, it'll probably eventually win. And then you have this guilt and shame cycle. But the cool thing about the mindfulness piece and reflecting on the reward is that over time, what you're going to find is that the reward will decrease and you will be less prone to do that. So anyway, it's really just decoding the cravings and becoming mindful of the cravings, understanding your habits and why you're doing the things that you're doing. It's really mindfulness. Next is really track to triumph, right? I've always said that what is measured is managed. It's just like a budget. If you don't measure and know where your money's going, and you have inflow of money and outflow of money, you're going to find yourself in trouble, right? If you live within your budget, then you'll be understanding what comes in and only so much can go out. That's how you stay out of financial trouble. So maybe you could also apply this not only to weight loss, but also, impulses to buy things, right? All those little impulse buys add up really quickly. It's made, today's environment with cell phones and all the apps like Amazon, really easy to buy little things, and that adds up, right? So when you track it, it really can help you, because people are surprised when they write down, for example, how much food they're eating. One day you could just do this, right? You could literally just monitor your eating habits for 1 to 2, 3 days. Don't worry about calories or anything but just writing it down. And I think people are surprised at how much they actually consume. And then you'll see how often they're consuming food, even on a whole food plant-based diet, right? If you're eating when you're not hungry, you're pushing yourself into the direction that you might be over consuming calories. And that can be an issue if you're struggling to lose weight. They're like, I've been on a plant-based diet. The gurus told me I didn't need to monitor my calories. I could eat as much as I want, but I'm not losing weight. Well, you're overeating. That is simple. Calories do count. Of course, there are some nuances to that, but calories do count. It doesn't mean that you drastically reduce your calories. It means you have to be thoughtful in your approach and track what you're consuming because you have a goal in mind. So simple thing to do, tracking your food. I would, if you really want to get deeper into it, track the calories and then determine what are your total daily energy expenditure, right? So go into those apps and they'll tell you approximately how many calories you need to maintain your current weight. Decrease that by a couple hundred calories. Really paying attention to eating more satiating foods, which also happen to be more higher protein plant foods like beans and whole grains. Those will be super helpful to help you move towards your weight loss goals. And it's just simple tracking. And again, this circles back to mindfulness. You're going to see you see something like this common thread that's going to be running through all these things is mindfulness. Next is just learning to adapt, right? So sometimes that we get emotional responses to past experiences. So we may find ourselves reacting to something because of emotions. Our brain is just predicting what's happening, so it's going to make you do something, provide emotions and different things. That's a whole other thing, is how emotions are created and why our brain does it. But when you think about your past, if you just take it from a point of not, judging it or trying to feel bad about something or reminiscing, wishing you were better old days, but instead think about past experiences where either you were very positive in your experience. Let's say that you were able to lose weight and keep it off for a period of time. What were you doing that allowed you to do that? And also look at your failures, right? That these are opportunities. I don't like the word failure. I'd rather think of these as opportunities. They're opportunities to you see them as successes, and that you saw what didn't work, right? Because that means you're one step closer to finding something that will work. So let's say that you have a win in your past. You're like, okay, what was I doing well then? Think about, your habits, the environment, the people around you, all the different things that were nudging you towards making better decisions versus where you might have failed, right? So what were the obstacles that kept you from getting to your goals? So those are some opportunities. So again, it's just learning and adapting, and then taking those learnings and applying them in the current situation. So maybe you found that eating higher protein rich foods in the breakfast kept you fuller longer and less likely to consume food and snacking later in the day. Maybe you found that creating a meal plan and with a grocery list kept you on your mission in the grocery store, and it didn't keep you from wandering and grabbing, oh, those chips look good. That might be good. Oh, yeah, that looks good too. Oh, that ice cream, just a little bit. Those are the situations that we can find ourselves in. But if you have a list, go to those places on the list to get your stuff and out the door. Another thing, just a hint that there's some interesting research on eating a healthy snack before you go shopping, like an apple, for example. You're more likely, 40% more likely, actually to make healthier choices in the grocery store. You're priming the pump, so to speak. You're priming yourself to make better choices. Okay, so learning and adapting. And again, just thinking about what you can do now from your experience in the past. And lastly is really using technology to assist you. I think I mentioned the CGM because this is feedback immediately to people about what food is doing in their own body. Again, everybody's body's a little bit different, and you might see one person able to eat one food and their blood sugar goes, someone else's go, woo. Well, there's different reasons for that. And I think that's where the educational piece comes in, understanding you yourself as a holistic person, but you need that personalized adjustment. Again, this is where it's really important to speak to someone who understands and knows what they're doing. And that's why I'm so excited about my, Master Your Metabolism and Lose Weight course, because we're going to do live monthly coaching. you get the entire course, 150-page ebook, and another workbook that goes with that. It's super exciting. We're going to be launching that very shortly, like this close. I just have a little bit more to do. But anyway, super excited about that. But the CGM can be helpful. I always talk about my smartwatch. You can utilize a Whoop. Just doing something that will help you get that feedback, right? So leverage technology. Maybe it's a chronometer or MyFitnessPal, so you can understand what you're eating, how many calories, how much protein, the number of steps that you're doing. You have an exercise goal. This thing, it's funny, it'll make you move, right? Maybe you set up reminders in your cell phone to get up and move around every 2 hours or something, and walk, 1,000 steps every 2 hours or something. I'm just throwing out some ideas there for you. Again, you would adjust and fine tune that according to your current circumstances, your abilities, and what you value. Again, I can't tell you everything. I can give you the bigger umbrella of what would be beneficial to most people, but not everybody will be able to incorporate those. And that's where you adjust and do the best we can. And I appreciate that. I often will get some comments in the different social media accounts about, well, what about this? I can't do this, this, and that. Why don't you address that? I can't address every circumstance, and I apologize for that, but I'm doing the best I can to highlight what most people can do, and then you can adjust it according to what your needs are. And so let me just go over that again. You want to decode your cravings, really think about your habits. Where are they moving you to? Becoming mindful of your habits allows you to make thoughtful and mindful choices. Again, you might choose to engage in the activity and you might choose not to, but at least you're making a mindful choice. 2 is tracking. What is measured is managed. What's not measured is not managed. Just like your budget, you think about your food the same way, especially if you're struggling to lose weight. Next, learn and adapt. Think about those past experiences where you've had wins and some that were failures. Use those failures as opportunities to change the behavior currently. You keep doing the same thing, guess what? You're going to keep getting the same outcomes. It was like my kids when they were little. They wanted something so desperately. So they keep asking me. If I said no, they would ask me a different way. I was like, you can keep asking me questions, but the same answer is going to be no, or you have to do something, right? So it's really funny. Sometimes we have the inner child that just likes to continue doing the same thing because we feel comfortable and we want something, we want to be told something differently. So anyway, learn and adapt, take those past experiences and make them useful. And using technology to leverage, that information to help you make better choices, because you'll have prompt feedback, better information, more personalized information, so many benefits. So I hope that was helpful. I really try to think about it before I was sharing. Of course, it kind of always comes out a little differently as I'm just going with this. I have some basic outlines, but I always try to be more thoughtful as things bubble up in my head. So again, thank you for spending time with me. I appreciate you so much, and sending you love, joy, and peace and healing as always, because we need more of that in our lives every single day. So have a good rest of your day. And again, I appreciate you being here. So have a good day.